So on today's video, we're going to be seeing if the brand Colite is worth checking out.
What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the Evolved Jeeping channel. My name is Dan, and on today's video we're going to be taking a look at another off-road lighting brand. If you are in the market for some off-road lights and you've been doing some research, one of the things you might have noticed is there are a crap ton of brands in this category, which make it really difficult to choose what products you should be adding on your vehicle. Obviously, you can go ahead and purchase from some of the well-known mainstream brands that are out there like Baja and Rigid, or you can actually go ahead and purchase from some of the less well-known brands that typically sell their products on Amazon. The one thing about buying the products on Amazon is typically they're also a lot cheaper. And just because they are cheaper, that actually doesn't mean they're less quality. In fact, some of the brands that are selling on Amazon are actually the factories that are selling directly to you, and these factories are the same factories that are manufacturing products to sell to the mainstream brands. The reason these factories are able to sell the product to you at a lower price point is because they only have to deal with a small fee to Amazon to list the product. Where with these mainstream brands, they use a wholesale selling structure, which increases the price of the product. What happens is the factory sells the product to the brand then sells the product to the wholesaler and distributors, and then the wholesaler and the distributors sell it to you. Because of this multiple exchange to get the product from the factory to you and the amount of people that are involved, this increases the price of the product because every party involved in this process needs to make a profit from moving the product. This is kind of an old structure system that was used a lot when we were selling all of our products in retail spaces and in big box stores. But with the creation of Amazon, it has really changed the game, and now the factories are able to sell the products directly to you, which means they make a higher margin, and it means they can still keep the price of the product a lot lower. It's kind of a win-win for us, and it's really nice, but there are some limitations. The limitations are not all the products on Amazon are any good. What has happened is because this process for selling is so easy, a lot of the lower quality factories are also selling their products on Amazon, and it means that not all the products are as good as some of them. This is actually why I am creating today's video and why I create some of these videos, because in these videos what I do is I try to highlight some less well-known brands to show you guys what products they may offer, to let you guys know if the brand is actually worth purchasing from. I hope that these videos are helpful, and I hope these videos help you make a decision on making a purchase for yourself. So guys, the brand that we're going to be taking a look at today is a brand called Colite. Colite is an off-road lighting brand that offers a wide variety of light products that can be used on off-road vehicles. I've actually come across Colite a few times on social media through some ads, and I've also seen the Colite products listed on Amazon. Unfortunately, I really have not had the opportunity to see their products in person, so I figured this winter that I would reach out to them to see if they wanted to work with me so I could check out the products they have to offer. Luckily they did, and for today's video, the product they sent me is their new LA5 4-inch combo beam light pods. These actually go for $98, and you can actually purchase them in a few different options. You can get them in a white lens, which is the one right here. You can also get them in an amber lens. Then you can also get them in a white lens with covers like this amber cover or a black cover. So there's a few options you can choose from when buying them online. Not only are we going to be taking a look at their lights, which are sold as a pair, you get one here and one there, but we are also going to be taking a look at a second product from them, which is their cowl mount bracket for the Jeep Wrangler JL and Gladiator GT. This is a steel mount designed to mount on the cowl of the Jeep, and it gives you 4 different mounting locations for some lights. This goes for $75, and for both of these items, what I will do is put the links below if you want to check them for yourself. As you can see guys, we do have the products installed because I did do this over the weekend, But don't worry, what we're gonna do in today's video is we're gonna show you guys how to install these. Then we're gonna go ahead and show you guys how the light performs. And then I'm gonna wrap the video up by giving you guys my overall thoughts and opinions about the light, the bracket, and the Colight brand. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is check out the installation or check out how we installed these. But before we do that, we gotta check out what this entire kit came with. This is all the parts we used for this installation. What we have here is actually 3 different items that you can buy from Cowl Lighting. It is not one complete kit. The first item we have are actually the LED lights themselves. These are sold in a pack of 2. These are a 3-inch light, and they actually are a combo light. So they have a spotlight in the middle and then floodlight on the outside. For the floodlights, they actually have 2 focus lights on the top and then 2 wide angles on the bottom. It will be really interesting to see how this light pattern is once we fire this up. The light shell or casing is actually a 2-part shell or body. You have your front face, which has 4 screws on the front, which would actually give you the ability to take it apart if you needed to. Again, not sure why you're going to need to unless you have an issue, but you do have that option. The front and the back do seem to be an aluminum body with a gloss black finish, probably a gloss black powder coating. On the top, they have the etched Colight logo, so it's kind of textured and etched into the surface, which is a really nice finish. On the side of the light, we have our mounting locations for the brackets. On the back, we have our cooling fins, which are used to keep the light cool. And we also have our wiring harness. The wiring, or I guess wires, the wires come out and they actually have a male plug on this end. So you can see the 2 prongs on the inside. I'm assuming this plug is going to give us a watertight seal, which is really nice in the event that you're mounting the lights on the outside of your vehicle. Again, guys, we come with 2 lights, so you have 1 and 2. Then you also have the brackets. They're used to mount these. These brackets are designed to simply slide around the bottom, and then you're going to connect them using the provided hardware there. In this bag of hardware, we also have Allen keys, and we have larger hardware that is used to mount the entire light housing to the mount plate. The last thing that comes with the lights is a complete wiring harness. This wire harness is pretty much plug and play because all you have to do is simply plug the lights in to the female plugs at one end. There are 2 sets of wires here and 2 plugs. You have a lot of wire, which gives you a lot of flexibility for where you want to position the lights. For myself, it's probably too much wire, but that's something we're going to have to show you guys what we're going to do. These 2 wires actually come in and they go into this relay right here. It's really nice to see the system has a relay to hopefully prevent it from killing your battery. So it's really nice that we have this. Coming out of the relay, we actually have our power source wires. This is a ground and a power supply. So the ground, you're either going to tap it to the battery or tap it to a part on your frame. For the power, we're going to run that directly to the battery or some other power source. What's really nice on this is they also have a fuse here, which is probably a 15 amp fuse inside. So it's really nice to see, and really nice to see that they've kept a fuse on there. Some companies don't do that. The next wire that's coming out of the relay is actually our switch wire. This is just a toggle switch, so you have an on-off position. There's a red LED light on it that will probably illuminate when it's on. What's really cool about this light is it also does, or this switch, they actually provide you a disconnect location, which will make it a little bit easier for running the wire into the cap. Again, guys, this is a complete wiring harness, and in the event that you don't already have switches, all you're going to do is simply run the 2 wires, connect the lights, and you'll be good to go. For myself, I'm not going to be using this entire kit. Most likely what I'm going to do is cut the light or the connection points for the lights at one spot, and then I'm going to simply tap this into my XK Glow X Command switch box because it just saves me a lot of work of running the wires, and it gives me the ability to control everything through my one system. So that is the first part, which is your lights. The second part that you can buy are these covers right here. So these are a second thing that that Colight sent me. So they sent me their solid covers here, which are a solid black cover, which are designed to clip over the front. And then they also sent me the amber ones if I want to make the lights have an amber pattern, which I really like because That is just a good feature, and I like them to have that accessory. I really would have liked if these covers came with the lights because they are part of it, but you do have to purchase them separately if you want them. The last part are these cowl mounts for the Jeep Wrangler JL or Gladiator JT. These are basically steel mounts with bended plates kind of, and they are designed to mount on the cowl, and they give you 2 mounting locations for the top side and then 2 mounting locations to the side. These are pretty hefty piece, very solid, not necessarily one of the most elegant mounts I've seen. So we're definitely gonna have to see how they look once we install them. To mount these, they actually come with a bag of hardware. Unfortunately, as you can see, the bag of hardware is silver hardware, which is kind of disappointing because I would have loved these to be black hardware to tie in with the black mounts. Hopefully, when we do the installation, we might actually be able to use our factory hardware, which is black, but that's something we're gonna have to see when we're doing the installation. So now that you've seen what we are gonna be installing or what we have installed, let's go take a look at the first step of the installation.
The first thing I did was remove the 4 bolts that hold the cowl panels on each side of the Jeep. Once all 8 bolts were removed, I then went ahead and popped the hood. Then I went ahead and removed the cowl on the driver's side. Once the cowl was removed, I then went ahead and ran the wire for the light. I pulled it through and then positioned it where the light would be, and then I reinstalled the cowl. After that, I then went ahead and ran the wire across the hood so that I could get to the other side where the switch panel was. Once I completed running that wire, I then went ahead and removed the passenger side cowl. Then I went ahead and ran the wire for the light that's going to go on this side of the Jeep. Once I had the wire in place, I then reinstalled the cowl piece. This part of the installation was kind of specific to my vehicle because on my vehicle, what I wanted to do was control these lights using my XK Glow X Command switch panel. So instead of wiring up the complete wiring harness as I should based on the instructions, what I was actually going to do was cut the wire and connect it to my switch panel. So here what I'm doing is pretty much measuring out the wire I'm going to need so that I can cut it and then put it up to the switch panel. So I did that for both sides. I ran the wires together and then simply connected it to the switch panel.
Through the highways till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go.
So once I finished that, the next step was to assemble the lights. What I did first was take the large bolt and slid it through the bracket. Then I took the bracket, the small bolt, a lock washer, and a washer, and then attached the bracket to the side of the light. I put the bolt on one side and then flipped it over and did the other side. I then repeated the process for the second light. After that, using the large nut, the large lock washer, the regular washer, I then went ahead and connected the light assembly to the cowl mount brackets. The next step was to mount the entire assembly onto the Jeep. What I noticed when I was doing this was the light actually had a long wire attached to it. So what I actually did was removed the cowl once again so that I could connect to the light and then fish a lot of the wire inside the cowl piece so that nothing was floating around. Once I did that, I then went ahead and mounted the cowl bracket using the provided hardware. Once the bracket was tight and mounted to the vehicle, I then went ahead and positioned the light at the correct angle. Then to finish off this installation, I just simply went ahead and repeated that same process on the other side of the vehicle. As you can see, the installation of the light and the bracket was super easy. For my installation, I actually have a switch panel in my Jeep, so I ended up not using the complete wiring harness. I actually ended up cutting it and wiring it directly into my control hub. If you don't have a switch panel, don't worry, the wiring harness that they provide is actually a really complete wiring harness, and it's super easy to install. It's pretty much a plug and play installation because all you really have to do is connect it to the battery and then run the switch inside the cab, and then you're good to go. Now that you guys have a good understanding of how to install these, the next thing we're going to take a look at is the performance of the light. Overall, guys, the beam pattern of these lights is actually pretty good. It has a really good focus point, and then it also has a really good spread. So it is a great
combo light. Look guys, I am not an expert, so I don't really have any expert way to test out the brightness of the light, but when I compare it to the recent lights that I installed, which were the K3 McTuning lights, these lights are actually very comparable and they seem to be bright enough. I tested these out in the dark at night and I definitely think they illuminated in front of the vehicle. I think it was a really good light, and yeah, I think they did the job. I think for $98, these are great light. What I do really like is that you do have the option to buy them with the cover, and when you put the cover on, it turns them into an amber light. So I really do like the fact that you have that capability, because for me, I want the ability to choose what light I want for different environments. You know, it's not always foggy, and sometimes I want a white light, but then other times I do want the amber light. So really like that it comes with that. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about the performance. Now that we've covered the performance and showed you the installation, now it's kind of time to talk about the light itself. So there are a few things, or at least talk about the light, the bracket, and the brand. For the light, there's a few things that I want to comment on. So one thing I don't really like about it is the way that they put the, I guess, the connection points for the two-piece housing. I don't like this because for a couple of reasons. First, I think it looks a little cheap with the silver hardware. For me, I would rather them maybe be black and less hidden, or maybe be mounted on the back. The second reason I'm not necessarily a fan with them is because I feel like these points are going to be points that could lead to corrosion. A lot of the cheap lights that I've seen out there tend to corrode around the bolts on the front face, and I think that's because they're facing the wind as you're driving, and they get hit with a lot of elements, and all it takes is a little chip or something, and it's just going to cause it to corrode. So not really a fan of that thing, and I think they could have just went with something a little cleaner. Again, not a big deal. A lot of the high-end brands do have this same design, so it should work in theory, but this is kind of more of my opinion. And speaking of corrosion, the next point I have actually has to deal with the finish. So the finish of it is a pretty good gloss powder coated finish, but what I have concern about is the logo on the top. So it is really nice because what they did is they engraved it, but what I have concern about is what they did is they actually engraved the powder coating. So in my opinion, this is actually a weak point that could be a source for where the corrosion could start. I would have rather seen them maybe, you know, emboss it into the metal and then paint over it so that it wasn't black, but you could see it, or I would have rather them paint it. Obviously, painted would have looked a little cheaper, but it would be a little bit stronger. Again, I'm not sure if it's going to corrode, but I do have a concern on that. So it's kind of just something I wanted to bring to attention. Next little thing I have about the light, it's a real little thing. It has to do with the bolt that they provided for mounting. As you can see, this bolt is super long. It's a lot longer than some of the bolts that come with like a Baja light. And what I noticed, and you notice in the install, is I actually had to put that bolt in first before mounting the bracket to the light. And that is just because the bracket, I couldn't flex the bracket around and get that long bolt in, where if the bolt was shorter, you could easily just slide it in. So again, a little comment. I know two of the points I just mentioned had to do with longevity. And guys, unfortunately, longevity is not something I can really review in the time period because I just did install. It's something I kind of have to see after use. So unfortunately, I can't really tell you the longevity of it, but my first impressions of it are it is pretty good and it should last. So it's something we're gonna have to see over time. Yeah, overall, the light's pretty good. I think it's a well-designed light. I think it's really nice. I love the fact that it comes with the covers. Yeah, it's super clean. So no real complaints. The next product we're gonna talk about is the bracket. For the bracket, I do have some comments and I do have an opinion on it. So for this bracket, my first impressions are it's just a little bit chunky. You know, this is basically a solid piece of steel or aluminum that's been bent. Yes, it does have 4 mounting points, which is a really good feature, but it's just a little chunky. And in my opinion, there are some other cleaner brackets out there that are a lot sleeker looking. So I kind of not really a fan with it. It kind of just looks a little much. That being said, even though it is chunky, this bracket could definitely hold a big light. So if you are mounting maybe a 7-inch or maybe a 9-inch or a 5-inch, this bracket would actually be really good for this. But for a 4-inch one, it's a little bit overkill. So only thing to mention about that, but again, does have 4 mounting locations. The other thing I don't like about this bracket is the hardware. So you can see the hardware is silver, and it's also a nut and a washer. I definitely would have rathered it just been like a big nut with, or not a, sorry, a bolt and a washer. What I would have rather it been, you know, a big bolt, a big black bolt. I would have liked that a lot better. You know, it would look a lot nicer with black bolts here instead of the silver. I actually tried to use the factory ones, but the factory ones are too short and they wouldn't make it. So I did have to go ahead and use the ones they provided. Yeah, overall, the bracket's okay. It's not great. For $75, it's okay. I think around that price point, I could find some other ones that maybe are a little bit more elegant, but again, not too bad. In the end, if I was buying this, I probably wouldn't go ahead with this bracket. I would have went ahead with a different bracket and then use this light. So now that we've covered the products, we've talked about performance and given you my reviews of the products, let's talk about the brand. So guys, for the brand, I actually kind of have mixed decisions on this. If I was just judging them based on their products that I've tested out here, I would actually say they're a really good brand. The products they sell for the price point they are decent, and I think they're great. Also, when you go on their website, they have a wide variety of products available, you know, a bunch of lights in different sizes, shapes, styles, beam patterns, colors. So they actually have a wide variety of options available, which makes them also a good brand. But where I have mixed decisions has nothing to do with the products they sell. It kind of more has to do with professionalism, I guess. And it kind of had to do with the packaging that the lights came in. So the lights came in a package box, which was full printed color. But what was weird about the box was that it didn't have any Colite logos on it. So it was kind of a generic box with no brand logo on it at all. I thought this was kind of weird because their product has the Colite logo on it, but their packaging doesn't have a logo. So when I first took this out of the box, I was like, okay, this is kind of confusing. Why does the logo not have it on it? And it was actually a reason I didn't show it to you because, or I didn't show it to you when I was unboxing the products because it made no sense. This doesn't say Colight on, so it was kind of confusing. So I'm not sure why this happened. Maybe they make this for another brand. Maybe because this product is so new, they haven't yet made their packaging. Just kind of strange in general. So that is kind of why I have mixed decisions on it, is because their packaging just didn't have their logo on it. It's just kind of a weird thing. But even that aside, the products they offer are pretty good, and I definitely recommend checking their website out. If you are interested in purchasing these, I will put the links for both these items below. These will be the links to the Colight website. And if you are buying from the Colight website, you can actually use the code EG15 to save yourself 10% off any of the products you order directly from the Colight website. So it's great. I do have to thank Colite for sending me this product and also offering this discount code for you guys to use. Hopefully you guys find some products that you guys do want to add to your vehicle. If you are an Amazon buyer, because I know myself, I do buy a lot of products on Amazon, I will also include the Amazon links below just to make it easier for all the buyers out there. At this point, guys, I don't really have much more to say about this product. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them below and I'll do the best to answer it. I hope that this video was helpful and I do hope you enjoyed it. I know for myself, when you're shopping for off-road lights, there are so many brands out there that it's really difficult, and I hope this video gave you a good understanding of the Colight brand and what they have to offer. And of course, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Keep evolving, and we'll see you guys on the next video.